Hey, welcome back to another amazing episode of Mikey's Video Game Madness. Today we are covering The Last of Us 2 Extraordinarily Late. Why, you may ask? Because I didn't want to say it early on, but unless Cyberpunk somehow comes out at the end of this year and blows my mind, this is probably the most fun I've had playing a game, even though the story's super serious. This is the most impressive game that I played this year. If I had to pick a game of the year, it would be The Last of Us 2. And I did a video covering kind of the story of the game in detail in an earlier video, but I don't believe I showed any gameplay footage beside a few screens proving that I beat it. I actually showed early on the Game Plus mode and the background just to prove that I beat this game, because I'm not going to lie to you, since it's been a while, I played this game terribly. I didn't even know how to reload my gun. There's one point in this video where I have to go into the options and look at the control layout. I apologize if I sound really anxious or a little bit out of breath. I really wanted to start getting back in the videos again, but my anxiety has been off the chart. So if you can bear with me with that, I appreciate it. I've made a point to have no story spoilers, but I will talk about gameplay mechanics, but not story points. I purposely cut a cutscene out just right here because there was pretty much about 15 minutes worth of cutscenes that I just cut out so you wouldn't see it, because I really just want to show you, as terrible as I may play it, just some of the gameplay elements. As much as I want to say that the Final Fantasy VII Remake was my favorite game of this year, which I adore, and like I said, if Cyberpunk comes out and blows my mind, I'll let you know, but I just can't possibly see any game topping this for the rest of the year. This is probably in my top 10 of best PlayStation 4 games I ever played. I avoided covering this game beside just talking about it because it was just such a polarizing game. I think some people are so attached to the first game's story and how this game turned out are really sensitive about forced messages and everything. The only thing I felt like this game preached to me is how terrible violence is, the cycle of violence, and the toll that it takes. And if that's what it's preaching, that's not a terrible message to preach. All this other forced bullshit, I don't care. I don't buy it. You're welcome to your own opinion. The gameplay in this game has the best guerrilla warfare type of gameplay I've ever played. There's amazing horror elements. If you're scared that this is somehow going to ruin your experience of the first game, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice to not check it out. Now, this game is not perfect. This isn't spoiling the story, but I feel like this should have been advertised. You're essentially playing two campaigns, and they have this Pulp Fiction timeline, and I don't think it works well for this game. I think they should have either made two different campaigns or had the other character that you play as. And of course, I feel like you should have played as Ellie first because she's from the first game. And it's not really spoiling anything, but I'll still not say who you play as the other character. But it's one of the first missions that you play as. This is 25% maybe into the game, I would say. This is game all, sorry, my English is a little bad. Here I go apologizing again. Like I said, my anxiety is up really high. This could easily, if you're pretty thorough, you'll spend close to 40 hours in this game, and that's kind of long. I think it would have been better if they split the campaigns into two separate campaigns, and maybe after you beat both campaigns, you actually play the last part of this game, like as a reward to get the real ending of the game. I think that would have worked perfectly. A game that does that awesomely is if you go back and play Resident Evil Code Veronica. That there you played as Claire, who's still looking for her brother Chris, which she was looking for in Resident Evil 2. And after you beat Claire's campaign, you play as Chris in order to get the real ending. So you play the game that way. I think that would have worked amazing and worked better, and maybe not have made this game seem so long and made it feel like it has extra content. Here you're seeing weapon customization. You gather bolts and stuff like that. You can customize your guns. It's pretty simple. It's not overly complex like maybe like a Western RPG. You're not going to be doing things to the extent that you would in Fallout or Wasteland or something like that. It's really simple. There's not a ton of upgrades, so that's great. And another cool thing is when you play as the other character, they have their own things that own unique things to that character that you can customize and upgrade. But the whole back and forth thing I don't think works for this game, because there's like high points of tension, then it cuts to the other campaign basically, and then it's like you lose that sense of tension. And it surprises me because everything's just so masterfully told in this game, and then that happens and you're like, wait a minute, the same people structured a story that I was just playing a little while ago to do this. It just seems like a mistake. I see what they were trying to do, but I think it would have worked better as like a second campaign. And like I said, maybe have the finale as a bonus for finishing both campaigns. The story itself is amazing. Like when I was done playing this game, like I played Final Fantasy Remake first, and then I went straight to this. I was having one of the many rough times in my life this year, and this game really helped get me through a lot of shit. But after I was done, it's like I was playing this game and I was like, there's nothing that I can currently play right now that's gonna give me the same level of quality and interaction from all the other games that I have. Like, granted, I got into other games. I think I played Manhunter after I played this, which I really enjoyed. Still need to make a video on that. Also, plans that I have for future videos. Again, I did beat the game, and not on the easiest difficulty. I beat it on whatever the default difficulty is. But I suck because I'm like 25% into the game. I haven't played it for a while. So, like I said, I didn't even know how to reload, and you'll see me look at the menu. So I'm kind of getting used to it. And I just want to give you like an idea of what the gameplay looks like without any major story plot points. And I just thought that this was kind of like the perfect part of the game that wasn't story oriented and more gameplay oriented, that gave you an idea of what the gameplay is like. I love out of both campaigns, I do love Ellie. The other person controls more like Joel, where they're more of a brute. But Ellie's switchblade with the gorilla gameplay, in my opinion, is a game changer. It's brutal. I love growing up with horror movies, and there was a short amount of time I actually wanted to be a special effects makeup artist for a long time, like Tom Savini, who worked on Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, the first Friday the 13th, the fourth Friday the 13th, so many movies. Was Tom Savini, and I wanted to go to his school and be a special makeup effects artist. This has the best blood and gore system I've ever seen in a game. The way like the blood pools out, I try to show it a little bit in this game, even though it's kind of gross to a lot of people, but it's the most realistic. The way the dogs work in this game, which is another reason why I chose this level, they're like, in my opinion, probably the most difficult encounters that you'll have in this game, just based on, like, they can follow your scent trail. Like, if you use your little stealth mode, you can kind of see how they're like sniffing around, so they'll follow you around. Every enemy in this game actually has a name, including the dog. And like, when they die, like, people literally get upset and they'll call out the person's name, and it's really awesome. And I've never seen anything like it. The amount of time that they took to make this game totally shows. The PlayStation 5's coming out, and as cool as the ray tracing looks like in Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I'm sure they could get this game running awesome on the PlayStation 5. There was a few times I played this game where I had to look at the system that I was playing it on, because I couldn't believe that it was producing this quality of graphics at even 30 frames per second. And I'm sure they'll probably add a patch to this for the PlayStation 5, our remastered version. More than likely they'll do that to make more money, knowing how Sony is handling backwards compatibility. Like, I'm not used to the aiming because I've been playing other games, so it's been throwing me off. I've been mostly playing the Mafia remastered when I recorded this, so I'm used to that. Every game has its own unique feel, and it takes a little while to get used to this feel. Even going back to the first Last of Us, which almost feels like antique when you go back to play that. Like, the story holds up well, but when you go and play the first Last of Us, you'll miss like all this stuff, like being able to crawl like this through the grass and everything, and the way it moves. But like, the first Last of Us, we like to think of it as a PlayStation 4 game, but that was originally on the PlayStation 3, and then they came out the remastered version on the PlayStation 4. And again, when I played that game, like, even Uncharted 3, to be honest with you, which was also a Naughty Dog game, like, they're just masters at being able to get the most power out of a system possible. But even with the PlayStation 5, I feel like graphically, maybe not frame rate wise, this holds up to pretty much everything that I've seen besides like the ray tracing stuff on next gen. I don't think that there's gonna be this huge graphical, like, mind-blowing, like, upgrade that you're expecting. Maybe I'm wrong, but I almost think like graphics have reached their plateau almost, and it's more like just refining what's already there. Like, you think that like these character models and cutscenes and stuff like that are way more detailed than the models that you play as in the game, but when I was editing this, going frame by frame, because all the, like, I made sure to show Ellie waking up in the beginning. That's all done real time, which is mind-blowing. So I think this next gen, things are just going to run better, maybe at a better frame rate. Of course, there's going to be some graphical upgrades, especially with games that have lesser experienced programmers and stuff like that. But I don't see like a graphical upgrade from PlayStation 1 to like PlayStation 2. I think it isn't fair to say Super Nintendo to PlayStation, where it goes from 2D to 3D. I don't think that's a fair comparison. But this game at 60 frames per second, which I totally can see the PlayStation 5 doing, having this game more refined, maybe having ray tracing, that'd be awesome. The infected are back in this game, but I feel like the interactions with the people are just more interesting and more fun and more strategic. And the weather effects and everything, like, everything just fits the mood and the storytelling so well. Like, the weather, like, when you're like, seems to affect like the tone of the game. Like, when shit's going down, it seems like it's storming, it's raining, and it's like hell on earth, and it's awesome. And yeah, the infected are in this game and they act as you would expect. And there are some legitimate creepy horror-like moments, but surprisingly enough, which most games don't pull off, even though Call of Duty has tried, like, the people are like really the scariest things in this game. And And I think this game purposely tries to desensitize you, so like when those emotional moments hit like that, like they really hit, and it makes you like, holy shit. Like you finally feel the impact of everything you've done. There's not many games that like show you the aftermath and the cruelty of like who your character is and what they become and their journey. Like I would definitely recommend, if you haven't played The Last of Us 1, to play that first, because this is totally a continuation of that story, despite what people might say. It's just masterfully told. A lot of people want The Last of Us 3. I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know what they can do better. The best thing I would think is maybe move on from the characters' arcs that we've already seen and maybe try something with new characters. Honestly, when they were working on the first Last of Us and stopped like development of it and published the game, they're like, we don't think that there's gonna be another Last of Us 2 unless there's this amazing idea. Thank goodness they came up with amazing idea, and maybe they'll come up with amazing idea for a follow-up to this game. But I'm also curious about what's going on in the other parts of the world. Maybe like before things got to the way they were, like early on. There's a lot of possibilities, like in some ways, but in, I don't know, I still felt like the beginning was open-ended, but it's just like I don't know what kind of interesting journey this story could go if it continues that's as impactful as the first and second games. So I would love to see new characters, and people might not like that because they're like, we like these characters, but you got to think, before The Last of Us 1 came out, you didn't know any of these characters, and they made you care about them and stuff like that. So if you're scared about anything that anybody says that's preventing you from playing this game, I always say to try it for yourself. There's nothing I say or anybody else can say that's going to take away from your own unique experiences. Now, they can soil it where you have the people saying something's bad in the back of your head, or somebody saying that it's really good and your expectations are high. But I definitely recommend trying it. This is like, this is the best game that I've played in a long time. Like, I haven't felt this involved in a game since possibly Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 is the only game I can think of offhand that like grabbed my attention as much as this game, and the guerrilla warfare is awesome. Ellie's switchblade is a game changer. It's interesting to see Ellie growing up a little bit more and stuff like that. So here's where I'm looking for the controls of how to reload. It's a little bit different. You actually push the fire button when you're not aiming, which, like I said, I beat this game, but games are so complicated now. It's not like back in the NES days where you just had like A and B, or even on the Commodore 64 where it's just the trigger button. Like, so when you're playing like a bunch of games like back to back, which I have a really bad habit of just flipping from games, which takes me forever to finish them because I'm usually rotating between like 5 games at the same time. It's ridiculous. But this game, like, I played all the way through. The same thing with Final Fantasy VII Remake. I can't wait to see. I'm curious if that's going to be an exclusive or not, but just seeing this game and how it is, like, I'm excited for next gen, but at the same time, I'm like, I think next gen is just going to be more of a refinement, maybe higher resolution, better frame rate. But, you know, when I played The Last of Us 1, I couldn't honestly, maybe I'd be a terrible game developer, I couldn't honestly think of anything that they could have done to make the game better. And there was just little things like being able to crawl through the brush and being stealthful, or being able to shoot things on your back, are like novel ideas, like giving like each enemy their individual names. And then there's enemies that actually communicate through like sounds and stuff like that, and it's actually a working language. Like once you learn like what the individual sounds mean, you can kind of tell what they're doing. And there's just little subtle things, like once you start killing everybody off, like the people get a little bit more frantic and spastic, and they're vocal about it. I can't imagine how many lines of dialogue were recorded for this game. And another thing, just exploring and reading the letters, and there's like things that you'll miss on the first playthrough. Like I think I forgot what my time was. I think it was like at 41 hours, but sometimes I left the game on pause, and I think the game kind of times it a little bit. But you could easily spend 40 hours on this game, or close to it, and end up missing a couple of things. I believe somebody was talking about something in the physics, as you can see here, are pretty nice. It's like one thing I always loved about Half-Life, if you could think about if you could do it in real life in order to solve a puzzle, that's usually how you would solve it. And the same thing here. The puzzles aren't complex. They're just like things work how they should work in real life. And like, see that slope, it was too steep, so the trash can went down faster. I'm pointing out the obvious, but sometimes when you play games, you don't notice subtle things like that. The flashlight also looks really cool. You actually have to physically shake the controller. You did that in the first Last of Us. There's a lot of decent reflections. Obviously, you don't see the reflections of that, but some of the reflections are amazing. The weather effects are amazing. Like, the sound design is amazing. Like, if you have Dolby Digital or anything that like supports it, I would definitely go to the menu on your PlayStation. A lot of people don't mess with the menus. This is why I'm suggesting it, because it doesn't work right unless you do this and you set it to Dolby, like on the crossbar menu or whatever it's called on the PlayStation menu, and put this in surround sound. It's absolutely amazing. And there's differences in sound when you're like under shelter when it's raining, and then you go outside in the rain. Everything's just because they had so much time. This game was delayed like a few times, and I'm not mad because it's one of the best games I've ever played. And I wanted to give it some time, not only because I figured the people that would actually listen to me would listen to me. Like, I think that if somebody actually did watch my video when this game first came out, I feel like a lot of people would just be hating on it and trashing it, and I don't have the energy to argue with people, especially when I was actually playing the game. So that's why I made the video with talking points, and I was just like, and I talked about the story in great detail, which I won't talk about. I'm showing you picture mode just to show you the detail of everything, and that's why I waited. So unless Cyberpunk 2077 comes out at the end of this year and it's the most amazing game that I played, this is my pick. If I had a game of the year, and in my opinion, one of, if not the best PlayStation 4 game that I've personally played, in my opinion, my own personal opinion, this is like the best, one of the best, if not the best PlayStation 4 game of all time. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I'd like to do a favorites game near the end of the year. I might not have footage of all of them, but I'll send links to all the video. Hopefully I'll cover all the games. But thank you so much. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you, and take care. Bye.
If you want to, like, comment, and subscribe! Thanks for watching!